What letter grade would you give yourself when your emotions are at their highest in the heat of a debate?
I want people to understand, like, I'm not here to try to cause chaos.
If you saw yourself as a representation of the image of Black women, particularly when you're on these platforms,
Mhm.
what letter grade would you give yourself when your emotions are at their highest in the heat of a debate?
What letter grade
Mhm.
would I give to myself when emotions are that's a loaded question
Mhm.
because
It is.
that's a very loaded question
Mhm.
because when emotions are high, I may
Mhm.
not be communicating the best way that I know that I can be.
That's the grade I wanna know.
So what I would say, I'm gonna give myself an A minus, and here's why.
Okay, I'm listening, I'm
And
listening.
here's why,
Mhm.
because I'm being real. I'm being authentic. If I'm ever getting heated, it's because I have been provoked. It is because there's
Mhm.
already been lines of contention already, and now I'm just irritated. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Now I'm just on the defense now, right? Now it's like
potentially.
now my guard is up. So you talking
Mhm.
smack to me, now I'm gonna talk a little smack back to you. But what I've
Mhm.
learned in these arenas, that's not always the best way to go. Do
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? That's
Mhm.
not always the best way to go because people are looking for you to respond in a heightened negative way. Do you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You know,
Mhm.
I've look at that person. She said an A when she is crashing out. Yeah. Authentically crashing out. Like, yeah,
So
after being frustrated for so long,
yeah.
like yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and give me a low grade that
Mhm.
the audience wants me to just because you feel like I should have said something different. I said what I said, I was honest. I will
Uh-huh.
give you guys I'll give you, sure, I can learn how to still challenge the disrespect without
Mhm.
also becoming disrespectful. Be
Yeah.
or just meeting people where they are because
Mhm.
like they say, you know, you can't argue with a fool because
Mhm.
to the audience, no one can see who is who, but they're gonna
Yeah.
they're gonna they're gonna pick a fool eventually. And
Mhm.
fortunately, that's me some of the times. And that's okay, you know. I mean, I don't know. What will be the letter grade you give me?
When you are at your worst emotionally, in terms of and I'm referencing this not necessarily as you as an individual, but more the question was like as a representation of the image of Black women. I would say somewhere between a C or D because I
Mhm.
don't think your crash outs are real crash outs. I've seen real crash outs. That's not you, you're right. Where 95% of the time I actually agree with you. There's usually some triggering, disrespectful thing that happens first, and then you're reacting and responding to that. My challenge, which is, and I guess I'm also gonna, see if you're interested in some feedback about your new approach with podcasting. And that's actually the thing I want to touch on is I'm realizing now as I'm now in this space, and even when I wanted to do this year, every time I get behind this microphone, this camera comes on, I have to start to think about the fact that it's not just Jeff I'm representing. I have to. Our image is
Right.
so trash. Our image is so
Yeah.
bad that either I'm countering that or it's like I'm adding to the image that's already out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it seems like all the way up until these random crash out moments, you function like everybody else. A minus, whatever. But
Well,
when but when the crash outs happen, and I'm realizing it now only because and it makes sense, like, I've been doing therapy for 10 years as a trained clinician. I've gone through thousands of hours of training, so I'm not anticipating everybody's supposed to act like me, right? That's obvious. But even in my short 2 months of doing this, we're not gonna not you, but we're not gonna sit here and act like I've been in the most agreeable, everybody agrees with me,
right.
greatest welcoming settings. I've been surrounded by Black women. I've been on panels with 2 white women from other countries who have some feminist leanings. Like, I'm doing panels where nobody on the panel, as far as the women, agree with me initially. Like,
Sure.
so I'm realizing though that, but I will acknowledge that the way in which they've treated me and what they've said to me was not often what was being said to you. So that I can definitely give you grace in acknowledging like I've definitely seen a difference in how
Yeah,
people have tried to challenge you, where it was almost like they were challenging my idea at times, whereas they were challenging you as a person.
person. Exactly. And
Yeah.
so as a
Yeah.
human being,
Yeah.
I'm going to have those reactions, you guys. I
Mhm.
know everybody in the audience is perfect and and has never got upset ever in life, but
Yeah.
when you're in situations, you really don't know like how frustrating it can be when you're really just trying to have a conversation, and because people don't
Mhm.
like what you say, they start attacking you personally. And it's
Mhm.
not just on the panel, it's in the chats. Y'all finding me in my emails, y'all finding me
Mhm.
in my personal DMs, berating me about my point of view. Like, think
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm.
So I say A minus, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
What I've learned is not to be so reactive.
Mhm.
Why? Why?
Mhm.
Why? Because this doesn't really matter like that. That
Mhm.
it matters to the point of getting my authenticity out. But when
Mhm.
I'm being met with that negativity, there's no reason to combat that.
Mhm.
Believe what
Yeah.
you want.
Agreed.
And once you
Agreed.
start getting what I have tried to learn to do,
Mhm.
when I feel like the conversation is taking it, I concede. You got it.
Mhm.
And even now when I do that now, that's also a problem, right? That's
Yeah.
al
Yeah. I've seen you
that's
do that on
also,
Anton, and they'd be like, "Nah, Jazz,
it's like, you know
you
what?
gotta
You
talk."
got it. You
Yeah.
because after a while, after I'm saying one thing, and then you're trying to
Mhm.
say I'm saying another, or when I say one thing and you say that I'm lying, or you ask me a question and I give my real answer and you're calling me stupid, you got
Mhm.
it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think for me, it's finding the right audience, it's finding people
Mhm.
who actually, are human enough to understand, like, I'm just being myself. I didn't know
Mhm.
that there was an etiquette to the streaming stuff, to this podcasting things, like,
Mhm.
I do have a debating and a speech team background, and even in those settings, it gets passionate, it gets heated, but
Yeah.
we're being passionate about the actual subjects. Where I get frustrated is when the personal shots are being made, because it's just like, I can call you just as stupid for your perspective, but
Mhm.
what's the point of that? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Do
So
you what do you think in those moments when you felt like you did get very triggered or very defensive? What do you think was happening to you mentally and emotionally?
it's really just frustration. Like, one of the last times, I think you may have frozen. I don't know. But I think one of the last times that I, quote unquote, crashed out was back and forth with a lady who just kept cutting me off and saying the same thing over and over again. And I couldn't get my words out. And she specifically said, like, I don't care what you say. Oh,
Mhm.
did it all freeze? Was it?
Yeah, I think we're good now, but what were you saying?
So I'll start over, but I was saying, like, the last time there was like a crash out moment, one of the recent viral moments of me going back and forth with another beautiful young lady. And we were
Mhm.
having a discussion about something, and it got to that point because she was specifically there to cut everything I had to say off because she wasn't in agreement. And she said it like, no, I don't cut men off when I don't agree with them, but I will cut a woman off if I don't
Mhm.
agree with them, and so I'm going to continue to do so. And she continued
Mhm.
to do so, even though
Mhm.
the men on the panel was saying, okay, you talk, then she talked every single time that I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this is what I'm saying. Hear me out. Then it's like, no, actually, no. It's like, okay, it's frustrating. So in those moments, I'm just like, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
why is it that you can say anything that you want to say,
Yeah.
but as soon as I respond, I'm getting clipped. So in those moments, Jeff, it's really just
Mhm.
frustration because I hate being cut off. And then I find myself having to repeat myself because
Mhm.
one thing about it, if you cut me off, I'm going to forget sometimes what I said. So now I'm repeating
Yeah.
myself. Now I'm frustrating the audience. Now I'm frustrating the panel. You know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah.
want people to understand, like, I'm not here to try to cause chaos. Okay.
Okay.
For a long time, I was of the notion like if you start it, I'll finish it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
taking it there. I'm not, I'm
Gotcha.
not, I'm not taking it there no more. If you want to start some nonsense, I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
remove myself or I'm
Okay.
just not going to engage because I'm more so looking for solutions based conversations. I'm not trying to have these circular conversations about nonsense, about the women and the men that you don't hate. How about we
Mm-hmm.
focus on the ones that we do love, the
Mm-hmm.
ones that we do like? How about we focus on self improvement? Y'all tearing women down because they want to
Mm-hmm.
practice self love.